Have you ever noticed how some women seem untouched by time? They carry a glow that has nothing to do with their actual age. There's something deeper than good genes at work here, something Carl Jung would have understood immediately. What you're about to discover will change how you think about aging. The secret isn't in what these women do to their bodies. It's what they carry inside their souls. Jung knew that our inner world shapes our outer reality. Some women have learned to live in a way that protects them from the ravages of time. By the end of this exploration, you'll understand why some souls stay bright while others fade. Picture a woman walking into a crowded room. She doesn't try to get attention, but everyone notices her anyway. Her face tells stories, yet looks mysteriously fresh. Her eyes hold ancient wisdom but sparkle like a child's. This is what Jung called the luminous feminine, the woman whose soul keeps her young. Jung discovered this through his concept of individuation. That's the process where our conscious and unconscious minds come together to create wholeness. Women who take this inner journey often find that their outside appearance starts matching their inner transformation. These women tap into what Jung called the anima mundi, the world's soul that connects all living things. They've learned to sync their personal timeline with something much bigger and more ancient. This creates what mystics have always known. Time bends around consciousness. What makes these women different? They've learned to transform suffering into wisdom without letting bitterness harden their hearts. Think about a woman who's faced real losses but still has softness in her features. She hasn't avoided life's challenges. Instead, she's developed what Jung called active imagination, the ability to work with her unconscious mind in creative ways. The ancient Greeks talked about two types of time. Chronos is clock time, the relentless march of seconds that most people surrender to. Kairos is sacred time, the eternal now where transformation happens. Women who look mysteriously young live mostly in Kairos, only touching Chronos when necessary. This process starts with what Jung called encountering the shadow, the parts of ourselves we'd rather hide. Most people spend huge amounts of energy fighting these darker elements. This inner war eventually shows up in their face, their posture, and their whole presence. But the luminous woman has made peace with her shadow. She integrates it consciously, instead of fighting it unconsciously. This creates what ancient alchemists called the philosopher's stone, a state of psychological wholeness that radiates outward. When internal conflicts stop draining vital energy, that energy becomes available for renewal. There's something even deeper happening here. Jung understood that the psyche operates by its own rules, what he called synchronicity. Women who embody this rare spiritual trait seem to exist partially outside regular time. They've developed what Jung called the observing ego, a part of consciousness that stays detached from daily drama while still being engaged. This lets them witness their own aging without becoming identified with it. They age as participants, not victims. You've probably met women like this. They have an ageless quality that makes you wonder about their real age. Their laughter comes from deep places. Their silence holds peace. Their presence suggests mysteries you want to understand. Science is catching up with what Jung knew decades ago. Research shows that emotional states directly influence our genes. Chronic stress speeds up cellular aging, while inner peace and joy have healing effects. Our telomeres, the biological clocks in our cells, respond directly to our psychological state. Jung called this connection to deeper sources of energy the collective unconscious. These women draw on archetypal energies that have sustained the feminine principle for thousands of years. This connection creates what we might call biological grace, where cellular renewal happens faster. Women who maintain what Jung called a vital connection with the self show real differences in their aging markers. Their stress hormone levels stay balanced. Their inflammation stays controlled. Their cellular repair works optimally. The soul's peace literally preserves the body's youth. Jung noticed that some people develop what he called a religious function, not necessarily connected to organized religion, but to a sense of the sacred in daily life. Women with this spiritual orientation treat their bodies as temples of consciousness. This reverent relationship creates protection around the aging process. The luminous woman has learned what Jung called the art of letting die, the ability to release what no longer serves without clinging to familiar patterns. She understands that each life stage requires a kind of psychological death and rebirth. Where others collect psychological baggage that weighs down their features, she's mastered conscious release. Jung spoke of the persona, the mask we wear in social situations. The luminous woman wears her personas lightly, like seasonal clothing that can be changed when needed. She's discovered Jung's transcendent function, the bridge between conscious and unconscious that allows real transformation. Instead of being trapped between youth and age, she's found a third way that goes beyond these struggles. These women have achieved what Jung called the union of opposites, balancing masculine and feminine energies within themselves, integrating light and shadow. Their faces become living mandalas, symbols of psychological wholeness. You see this most clearly in how they handle suffering. Where others let pain create permanent lines of bitterness, these women have learned what Jung called the religious attitude toward psychological material. They understand that every wound carries the seed of its own healing. They've developed what Jung called differentiated feeling, the ability to tell the difference between emotions that help them grow and those that just repeat old patterns of suffering. They can feel deeply without being consumed. But maybe the most striking quality is their relationship to the future. While others cling to youth or fear time's passage, they live in anticipation of becoming, not in nostalgia for what was. This creates a field of possibility around them. Jung's concept of the unus mundus, the unified reality underlying everything, shows up in these women's very cells. They've achieved what alchemists called the union of personal transformation with cosmic principles. The rare spiritual trait they carry is actually multiple Jungian concepts working together in harmony. They've learned to work consciously with what Jung called the archetypes, universal patterns of human experience that provide constant renewal. What emerges is what Jung called the conjunctio, the mystical marriage between conscious and unconscious, masculine and feminine, and temporal and eternal. This inner wedding creates a renewed sense of self that carries both wisdom and wonder. These women live what Jung called a symbolic life, where every experience carries meaning beyond its literal content. Their daily activities become rituals of renewal. Their relationships serve as mirrors for growth. Jung understood that the psyche has a natural healing function. In women who carry this rare spiritual trait, this function stays consciously active, creating continuous cellular renewal from the inside out. The fountain of youth isn't a mythical spring. It's a psychological state available to anyone willing to do the inner work Jung mapped out. These women haven't found some secret formula. They've simply learned to live aligned with their psyche's deeper currents. Their apparent youth reflects their psychological maturity. Their wholeness expresses itself through a physical form that seems to glow from within. The rare spiritual trait they carry is available to all of us. It requires only the courage to begin the inner journey Jung called individuation, the willingness to face our shadows and integrate our light, the commitment to live consciously rather than automatically. The soul that undertakes this work discovers its own timeless essence, and that discovery transforms everything, including how we age. If this message spoke to something deep inside you, don't keep it to yourself. Like, share, and subscribe, not just for more content, but to join a growing space where truth, healing, and self-discovery matter. This is Psyche Thera, and your journey is just beginning.